everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uwiyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, May 28th, and we've got a Hot Take Tuesday show coming for you today. We've got some takes that we've been simmering on for a little bit, decided to throw them out there to the people. So we're going to be going over those. We're going to go over the commitment of 2025 cornerback, top 100 player Mark Zackery to the Notre Dame football class. Might be rounding out the secondary for Notre Dame. We can see if they can add some players like Jadon Blair to the safety room. But Notre Dame is looking really good in the secondary for 2025. Mike Mickens continues to absolutely kill it on the recruiting trail. He's really found his form after maybe the COVID year was a difficult one for him, but he has bounced back in a big way. The room is as loaded and as talented as it's been in a very, very long time. So we'll talk about that. The chat is going off about Notre Dame's men lacrosse. Adam Dowling, can Tyler Buckner be on the football team in any capacity? I imagine that he either wants to go play football somewhere else or will want to try to continue playing lacrosse because obviously that's a good situation there. He had been off of lacrosse for a very long time, and so now he's back. Maybe he can work his way into the rotation for Notre Dame there. So, that's something we're going to have to monitor. CFB Hertz points out that Notre Dame's 15-5 victory in the championship game could have given Maryland all of Denver's points. Denver was who Notre Dame played, I believe, in the semifinal, and Notre Dame still would have won. So, dominant victory for the Notre Dame lacrosse team. The Kavanaugh brothers are the talk of the town. The talk of a lot of ESPN people who were following the game. They had a great game. And CFB Hertz also says he's not sure about Buckner, but there's a Faison kid who has some potential. And I think he's going to come up in one of our hot takes today. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So that's going to be our show today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, please hit subscribe. Please hit the like on this video. Please hit the notification bell so you know as we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. Jamie, it is May 28th, and that means that there are only a few days left to take advantage of the Play Like a Champion Today sport jacket sale going on right now from ESQ Clothing. The jacket is displayed on our screen right now. We've been talking about it for the last few weeks now, for the last few shows. This will be on sale for Irish Sports Daily and Hit and Hustle listeners for a limited time, 40% off. Regular retail for $795. It is on sale for $495. The players wear it on the player walks. It is a great sport coat for a Notre Dame fan. As we've mentioned before, Father's Day is coming up. It's a great gift for your father, your husband, significant other, your brother, whoever it might be who'd be interested, is a big Notre Dame fan, is interested in something like this. You're going to want to take advantage of this special while it is available. If you are interested in this this flashy jacket, hit up A Turner at esqclothing.com. That's ATOERNER at esqclothing.com, or give them a call at 312-757-8500 to take advantage of this special offer. Jamie, did you watch any of the men's lacrosse game? Or did you take that in? Did you once over?
I did watch most of it. I mean, obviously, it wasn't that close of a game. I mean, the start didn't look so great, but then after that, it was just pure domination from that point on. Wow, the Kavanaugh brothers, pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Very cool to see Jordan Faison, have the kind of goal that he did in that game. And it's just one of these things too, where, I mean, it took so long for Notre Dame to get to that level at lacrosse to kind of be like where they are now. But man, like, what a special season to have that. And it's just, I mean, it doesn't really seem like, eventually the Kavanaugh brothers are going to be there forever, but they're still going to be pretty good. Like it's pretty amazing.
I mean, you always want that validation, right? And I feel like that you have a chance to repeat. You get the first one. It's like any championship is a well-earned championship, right? Especially something like lacrosse. But Notre Dame were the favorites going into this year, kind of big favorites too. And I think everyone knew going into it, it's like they're gonna have a great chance to repeat. They were able to do so, and that kind of validates the first championship as well. It's like, hey, we are a great team, we're a great program, and they're I don't want to say a dynasty, but it's just like you kind of go down in the annals of like all timers, within the sport, especially the Kavanaugh brothers with their reputation now in the lacrosse community. That's great to see. It's honestly like for this channel, right? We're a football show. It's great to have Jordan Faison out there. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, plays lacrosse, plays football, and sometimes it's like not really it's like kind of on lacrosse team. No, he is a key player for them. Scored a number of goals for them. He had a behind the back goal yesterday. So look, that's awesome. He's going to be joining the football team now. Our boss Mike Frank is thrilled about that. He doesn't like that he's on lacrosse team because he's on football scholarship now, but I think we think it's going to be okay. It'll be fine for Notre Dame, and it's nice to see him kind of get that ring. Same thing for Tyler Buckner. We talked about him a second ago. How life's twists and turns work out for you. He is a national champion now at Notre Dame, and that's awesome. I know his sister plays soccer at Notre Dame. She's a very good player for the women's soccer team. So that's all very cool. It's cool for him. It's cool for his family. It's great for the football family. Great for the Notre Dame community. Light up Grace. Put the number one up there. Your number one team in the country, national champions. Excuse me. Excuse me. Another thing that happened over the weekend, Mark Zackery, top 100 corner, commits to Notre Dame. It was kind of trending in this direction for a little bit, and then the announcement comes out. We've been talking about him a ton. He's a very important player to this class. He is a big-time basketball player. He's a great athlete. He's very fast. He is very good ball skills. He plays offense as well, so he's got that in his background. I'll throw up the highlights that we've shown a couple of times. If people are new to the show or haven't seen it before, that'll be new to them. But tell everyone what Notre Dame gets in Mark Zackery and what he means to the class.
I mean, it's just kind of stacking up these corners now, right? And really the DBs in general, right? Like as you kind of mentioned with Mickens and kind of what he's done. And we also have to give credit to Chris O'Leary too early on, because obviously he's the guy who helped put together the safety class as well, and started it. Even if you're looking at guys like Jadon Blair, like that's something that if Chris O'Leary's not doing his job, then it's not trending in the direction that it is for Notre Dame to be like a contender to land him. Man, I think with Zachary, it's just like I always think it's just if guys aren't making plays on the ball in high school, it's very hard to envision them making plays in college, right? And it's one thing if they're like maybe they don't get targeted or whatever, but when you see they're targeted and you see someone make the kind of plays that Zachary does, and the first few plays there is like in off coverage. This is an off coverage, right? He's a guy who you can see he's got eyes on the quarterback there. He's got really good recognition and instincts. He played a lot more press man as a sophomore, and you saw a lot more of that too. And he's obviously like he's got the athleticism and the feet to really, really succeed there. And he just kind of has all of the tools that you kind of want in terms of like the quick, able to plan and drive on the football, good run recognition too. I mean, he is a cut tackler, and I would say that I'm always wary of guys who cut tackle all the time because it just can come back to bite you when you're playing guys like Audric Estime, right? And how that can kind of hurt when you're going against that, or like a Phil Motha or something like that from Clemson. But I mean, you can't deny that he does a great job like reading the play and slipping tackles, getting off blocks. And I mean, the guy just has all the athletic traits that you want. And he's just like even that kind of play there too, where you're like, yeah, it's kind of fluky. The ball just bounces to him. It's like, Well, the ball seems to bounce to him a lot, or he always seems to find the football. And when that's always happening, it's not a fluke. It's the player, right? So I think that to me is one of the main things that stands out about him.
It's a skill, being able to locate the ball, right? I mean, I think we've seen some of the best players in the history of the sport, like Ed Reed. Like, how often did the ball seem to just find him? And he's sitting there with, like, 80 interceptions or whatever it is in his career. Like, you do have to have that ability to find the ball, to kind of anticipate, like, if something happens here, where will the ball go, right? Where is the runner going to go? And then you're there when the ball gets stripped to you. So I think just ball skills, it's hard. You can't teach it, and it's hard to define, but it's just the fact that if the ball keeps finding you, you obviously have a skill for it and talent for it. And that's great. I agree with you with the cut tackling thing, just because it's just like, it takes away a lot of, I don't want to say upside. It's not that. It's just like, there's only one way to, you're kind of bringing someone down. Like, sometimes you need to make a stand-up tackle before a first down or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you have to be able to kind of stick your shoulder into someone's midsection and bring them to the ground, right? You can't just be diving at them all the time, because then you're always looking for it, and then you can leave yourself vulnerable to a player who kind of knows you're going to do that, right? I mean, how many times have we seen people jump over? Like, if you're always cut tackling, they know what you're doing. Like you said, predictable. But a fantastic player. I think Cam Hart played a lot of off coverage as well. He didn't have the way Notre Dame plays off coverage with their field player in man defense, is that player isn't looking in at the quarterback a lot of the time. Usually they have their back to the rest of the defense, so they are basically cutting off that inside. They're going to wall them off to the sideline. So this is a little bit different from his film, where he's actually looking in at the quarterback, but he is comfortable playing off of the wide receiver. And that's going to be good for him. Like you said, great athlete, terrific basketball player. We like to see those skills translate. It's big for Notre Dame's class, for Notre Dame's secondary. It's one of those things where, like, a player commits, and like a 3-star player commits, and it's like, what's wrong with the class? And then someone like Solfstead, for example, last week we talked about him. I think he's a 3-star defensive end. People are like, what's going on with the D line? You get a very high 4-star player commits, and that all kind of goes away for a little bit. This is a big time player, big time pickup for Notre Dame. Their secondary looks great, like you said. Credit to Chris O'Leary on that. Should we get to the hot takes, Jamie? Are you ready for this?
Oh yeah. Do you want to go Matt McCarthy? Do you want to get to Matt McCarthy? He just had a couple of comments in there.
You know what?
I will
get to this. Let's get to that. Yeah, I hadn't seen this question. Let's get to that. Matt McCarthy says Zachary was a huge pickup, very underrated. I don't know that he's underrated. I think properly rated in terms of just there's not a lot of fanfare. It might be what you're referring to. This is a pretty big deal for the class. Are you concerned that Dallas Golden could be another Micah Bell? A very good athlete might not be a pure corner that could struggle at the position. Why don't you go? And then if there's anything else I can add, I'll do that.
First of all, I just love this question. This is a really kind of smart way to look at it, because even though I think I wouldn't say he's another Micah Bell for these reasons that I'm going to list, but I do think that's one of those things that people should think about and fans should think about too. So I think this is a great question, Matt. The reason why I don't think I don't see Micah Bell with Golden is, one, Micah Bell was basically running back, corner, and kick returner, basically. And Golden is primarily safety in his defense. So if he can't go and play corner, I do not see any reason why he wouldn't play safety and play it at a pretty high level, because that's where he's making a ton of plays on the ball, and you could see the range, the instincts, and the athleticism there. Plus, I think, unlike Bell, where I would say, people are always like, whoa, why didn't he just stick him in the backfield? Well, one, he could have gone there, but it's they're already loaded at running back, so there's not really there's not a clear path there for
Right.
him. And also too, he's smaller than some of the other the other backs that they have too. And even if you're going to say, well, he should have really concentrated on returning kicks, it's like, I mean, Notre Dame doesn't lack options there. Like it's he's going to be in a battle even to just get in the mix there, right? So I think with Golden, I think you can see him as a receiver and the traits that he shows as a receiver, where he could easily play receiver in college, and where I didn't see the same kind of things with Bell, where I'm like, man, he would do this. I could see him as a returner, sure, right? But and maybe I actually think, because I think I read that Vandy is going to try Micah Bell at receiver, and I'm like, that's interesting, and I think maybe that could actually work good for him. But even if you're looking at that from a Notre Dame perspective, it's like, well, is Micah Bell going to be better than Jordan Faison? Is he going to be better than Jaden Greathouse? Is he going to be like, name a slot that whatever? Like, is he going to be better than those guys? Probably not, right? So that's the kind of thing. And I don't imagine he'd be an outside guy. I think he'd be a slot only. So I just think from that perspective, I can see Golden projecting at all these other positions, and I didn't see that with Bell. So that's why I don't think it's really like the same thing.
There's also just a size difference, right?
Yes.
Like Dallas Golden is a big, he's a big player, right? Like he can play just from a physical standpoint, he's kind of ready. Whereas Micah Bell was very slight. He is still slight. So that's a limitation just off the top. I was, while you were talking, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to say this. I was kind of struggling to find the words for what I mean, or like the evidence for what I'm thinking. But like, you watch Dallas Golden play and that's a football player. Like, that's a football player. And it's like, I didn't see that with Micah Bell, which is like, it's not really a knock on him. It's just like Dallas Golden, you can tell he knows how to play football. Like Micah Bell, when he was playing running back, like it was one of those things where it's like, give him the ball and hope he finds a crease so that he could just run, like just like it kind of like Josh Adams in 2017, where it was just like, get him a crease somewhere and let him go be an athlete. Whereas Dallas Golden, like when they have him at running back, when they have him at wildcat quarterback, like he's picking holes, he's setting up blocks. Like they are just straight ahead blocking, almost like duo blocking. And it's like game would do with Kyron Williams, like figure out where the hole's going to be and then hit the hole and then go make a play for us, right? And I think there is so much more to Dallas Golden's game as a football player than I thought Micah Bell's was, right? Like Micah Bell, to me, it was always kind of a difficult fit in that, man, this is like, this guy can really run. Like he is a very fast player. He's very explosive. What is he actually good at, though, in terms of being a corner or being a nickel, And it turned out like it just didn't translate for him as easily as some other players. And like, like Dallas Golden, I don't have that concern. I don't actually have any concern with him playing any position. Though I guess if I had to pick up a concern as far as corner, like you've mentioned before, he's not the greatest tackler. At this point, we've kind of talked about that. But I've also kind of like, would he ever truly pick up the craft of a corner because of the fact that he plays so many positions? It's like he's very good at, he's a playmaker, but like when you play corner at the highest level, like your technique has to be a lot better. You can't just out athlete guys playing on the outside at the Power 5 level. Like your technique has to be very good. Your feet have to be very good. Your hands have to be very good. That's why I kind of feel like you say safety. You don't need all of that at safety. You can be more of just a playmaker type, where it's just, you don't need to have all those things kind of lined up. So guess that's kind of a long-winded answer on this, but like you said, it's a very good question, and it brings out a good discussion. So that's a good question from him. Matt McCarthy asks right after that, if Notre Dame is able to land Jadon Blair, do you think Jameer Joseph would still be a take? He likes Joseph at corner better than Cree Thomas and thinks Cree Thomas would be a better safety. How do you think Notre Dame would play that if Jadon Blair ended up in the class?
I really don't know. I mean, I would assume that if they got Blair, they probably just shut it down.
Yeah.
That's what I would think, in that it's kind of like a little bit like Jameer Joseph is a little bit of leverage. If like he wants to come, they're not going to say no to him. You know what I mean? Or they're going to say like to Blair, like, hey, this guy wants to come and we got one spot, like I don't know that for a fact. I just think that's probably the way it is. I like Jameer Joseph as a player, and I actually like him. I like him better as a safety for me, because I just think athletically, I'm not positive about his top end speed. And I just see a guy who's very instinctive, a really, really good tacker, physical, good route recognition, good instincts. Like, I just think, to me, he's a more of a safety. But I mean, really, too, with Thomas, that's kind of like the one thing with me, too, is that, I mean, he's a guy who also plays safety in high school as well. And he's another guy with like great ball production. And I just am a little uncertain about like how fast he is. Like if he's like quite, because I would say there's one thing, you can't play corner at a really high level unless you're an elite athlete. You just can't at like the top level. You're going to, and I think that's one of the things with like, because I think Clarence Lewis is a good football player, but he just was, I mean, he's above average athlete, but he's not that top. And that's what he was lacking. Right. And that's what he was lacking. And that's why he never really could progress from that further from the player he was as a freshman, because I mean, he's smart, he's intelligent, all of these things, right? And a good football player. But I mean, if you can't run, 4.5, low 4.5s and lower, like you're not going to be able to hang with a lot of receivers, right? That's just the fact of it, right? So I think for both of those guys, I kind of have a little bit, Thomas and Joseph, I have a little bit of questions about like their overall speed. But I think, I mean, to me, Joseph is a really good player and a take if they don't get Blair in the class for sure.
Yeah, so I think it gets to a certain point when you pick up players, it's just hard to convince really good players too. Like it's okay to be the third guy in this class or the fourth guy or whatever it might be. Like at some point it gets difficult, right? They don't want, guys always want to compete, but you don't want a bunch of people in your class. It's just a practical thing, right? It's always been that way. It's nothing to do with like, the modern college football or whatever. It's always been a challenge. So that's why I think I agree with you. Like he could fit like in terms of just like us talking it out, but for the player, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's something to keep track of, right? Like it's something, we don't know for sure that Notre Dame will do that, but that's probably what they'll do. They'll probably just kind of shut it down at that point. All right, Jamie, let's do your hot takes. You've got one. I said it before. It's very related to the lacrosse team, Jordan Faison specifically. You're coming out. Jordan Faison will have 700 plus yards receiving in 2024. 700 plus like doesn't sound like amazing, but at the same time, Notre Dame's got a lot of options, right? They've got a lot of options. That would be I don't know that he would lead the wide receivers in receiving at this point.
Top two.
He would be first or second. Yeah. So tell us why you feel that way about Jordan Faison.
Well, one, he had 322 last season in only 7 games. So
yeah,
that's part of it. And he only had 25 targets, right? So he got a lot out of that. He got a lot out of that and was very productive there. The big thing is because of one, I just and I understand why it would have been better in a lot of ways for him to get more comfortable and for the coaching staff, like for Mike Brown and Mike Denbrock, to have him work with him there. And like, I think he'd probably be better positioned to like kind of hit the ground running going into fall camp. And now he's got to play catch up, right? That's a fact. He's got to do that right now and kind of like do everything he can to kind of like show them like, man, we got to just, I know this guy missed the spring because of lacrosse, but he's just too dang good. Like he's got to get out there. But he just did that last year when he was a walk-on. And they were like, there's no reason to give a walk-on any reps. Like that doesn't happen. They give walk-ons reps at the late end. That's like, here's some crumbs at the end. And then he just turned those crumbs into a whole meal. You know, like that's just kind of what he did and what his talent showed. So I think he's going to go, and I think he's going to have a great camp. I think, you know, he's one of these guys that everyone has trouble with him in man coverage. You know, he's a guy who can win in man coverage. Last year, he averaged 17.9 yards per reception from the slot. He had 4 touchdowns out of the slot. Out of returning Power 5 wide receivers, he had the 5th best PFF grade from the slot last year for his number of targets and up. And here's the guys who are ahead of him. So Tetero McMillan, you know, Arizona, right? Xavier Reshbro from Miami, Luther Burden, you know, Mizzou, Tez Johnson, Oregon. I mean, that's like 2 of those guys are projected first-round picks, and the other 2 were like stud, like 1,000-yard receiver types. So I don't know, because of the options and because of how it's going to work out, or maybe like it might take him a little bit for them to kind of gain that trust, because these other guys were there. And that definitely plays a part with all coaches when they're looking at like who's playing early. But I just think overall it's going to take over. And I just can't see a situation where he's not going to have like at least a couple 100-yard games where he's just like, man, he just was able to do stuff after the catch, able to get downfield and win. And so basically, like I see like a better Chris Tyree season is how I would kind of put it.
When has he ever not been good? Ever. Like as soon as he showed up in camp, he was good. He's always been good. The reason he didn't have more yards last year is because they didn't want to play him for whatever reason. And maybe it was a trust thing. I don't know. But I guarantee you right now, he, even if he wasn't there, I think they trust him right now. I think he has the staff's complete trust because he's always been a producer. As soon as they put him out there, he made plays against Louisville, right? Like against one of their top opponents, he hit them up for like a 50-yard touchdown. This is why I've never cared about whether he was at practice or not. He just seems like one of those guys. It's like wherever I'm at, I'm just going to go make plays and be a baller, and it's fine, right? And he doesn't need to be at everything. Just an athlete, like you said. And I just like the trust thing is real. Like in terms of coaches, they have to feel it. They will like not play you if they don't feel like you're on your stuff. I think he's always been on his stuff. I think every time they've asked something of him, he has come through. And I just there's the practical numbers piece. Jaden Greathouse is a slot guy. Jaden Harrison is a slot guy, right? Jaden Thomas is a slot guy. They throw the tight ends a lot. Like they've got Mitchell Evans. They've got Eli Raritan. Like they have all these options. I just don't know that it matters. Like he just always is making plays and he's always being successful. It's just I think he's inevitable, and I think this 700 yards is a good call. Like he just is. Like Jason Smith says, Faison has some dog in him. You can see it on his high school highlights on defense. Yeah, like he's a dog. And CFB Hertz asks, would he be part of your top wide receiver lineup? something like Faison in the slot, Greathouse at the field, and Collins in the boundary? It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think Greathouse in the slot is the way I'd go. I would say Mitchell, probably field, and Collins boundary, but I just don't know that it matters. I think it's one of those things, like, you know how in the NBA, like, it's not who starts the game, it's who finishes the game. I just think in the key moments, Faison's going to be out there, right? So how it starts, I don't know that it matters too much.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it is a really interesting question because my guess is that Notre Dame's probably going to have, I mean, you mentioned four guys right there, right? That,
Yeah.
You know, they're probably going to have four or five guys. Probably, I would say Jaden Thomas is probably going to be like there too. I think those guys will kind of separate from everybody else. Is just what I think will happen.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously injuries can change it, right? And that's another thing that can greatly change it too. But ultimately, I think like I just would be surprised if we're talking about kind of like the top group, whether it's like 3, 4, 5, whatever. Greathouse and Faison are going to be like near the top there for me. I just really am a believer in both those guys, and certainly I think I'm excited to see kind of what kind of season that Mitchell can have, and I'm really interested to see how Bo Collins looks in camp. Really, really interested to see that. And certainly I think just, I'm not one of these people who's like, I'm giving up on Jaden Thomas at all. Like I still think he can really, really help the team a lot. So it's going to be, I mean, these are the kind, what do you call good problems, right? These are good, these are good problems to have.
Yeah. And it's a good thing you just said about, like, I want to see Jaden Thomas. Like, I do want to see Jaden Thomas. I want to see Bo Collins. Like, and that's the thing about the wide receiver group, is we had the conversation last week about whether or not they were championship level at wide receiver. And like, we both said no, but at the same time, I feel like there is a ton of potential there for them to kind of develop into a championship level group, and like, I'm very curious to see what Jaden Thomas can do. I'm very curious to see Bo Collins, very curious to see Chris Mitchell, Jordan Faison, even Jaden Harrison. Like, how can they use him as a wide receiver? And this, not to mention, Micah Gilbert and Cam Williams and Logan Saldate whenever he gets around. So, it's we're monitoring that. Like, that's one thing that who is standing out in the fall. And, who is making that good, first impression. First impressions are important, Jamie, as you know. And if you want to make a good first impression for someone who's visiting your website or visiting your social media page, right, and you want something to pop, make an impression on them, then you're going to want to hit up VSR Media. Founded by Notre Dame Football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Pops is here, Jamie. Pops McGee is here.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah,
welcome back, Pops.
He's got to go to work, but we appreciate Pops being on the show. Miss you, bud. I miss you being around, man. Hopefully you can make more shows. I believe you mentioned on the last show you were kind of going through something. So hopefully things are getting better on that front and you can pop into to more shows. Really appreciate you being here all the time. All right. Here is my first hot take, Jamie. So this weekend, my daughter was in a soccer tournament, big soccer tournament. Tournament champions, please clap. And so we're at the tournament and there's tons of people. And before her game, we were watching one of the boys team. and the parents had brought drums. They were beating on the drums, as people do during these soccer games. And it's something I've always thought, and I've been to MLS games out here. LAFC has a great atmosphere type situation. And I've always thought, like, Notre Dame is doing things that other schools have kind of done already, like the light show, right? Like, they went to Georgia, and Georgia had the light show, and Notre Dame was like, you know what? We should have a light show too. So they did, right? And that's cool, but it's like you're doing what Georgia did. The thing with the smoke and when they come out of the tunnel, right? Other schools have done this. This is not a unique thing, right? It's not special to Notre Dame. It doesn't hold. And Notre Dame is such a school of kind of like tradition and stuff. And you want to set your own tradition. You don't want to make something that your stadium has as unique. And one of those things, I think, Jamie, bring the soccer chants to football stadiums. Find a chant that you can do. Now, obviously, you can't do it during gameplay. That's probably illegal, right? You actually get a penalty for this. But you can do, like, during timeouts and things of that nature. You could get some drums in the stands. You could beat on the drums. You come up with a chant, and it becomes an atmospheric type thing that is unique to Notre Dame, and you bring it out there. And one thing that I've always said, Liverpool, how they have that song, "You Never Walk Alone," before the game.
Yeah.
And they all sing it. Everyone gets it. I think Notre Dame does Notre Dame, our mother, wrong. You don't do it at the end. You do it at the beginning when the atmosphere it's charged up. It's not like a somber thing. It's not like at the end of the game. It's like you sing it before they all come out or before the opening kickoff. You sing it and everyone's screaming it now. Now the vibe behind that song is completely different, and it brings a completely different atmosphere when you hit the final note, "Love thee Notre Dame," and then you can hit the little song that they do before the kickoff, and then everyone like is charged up at that point. I think they need to go do something like that. They do too many things that are retreads of things that other schools have done. Notre Dame needs to do this. Bring it to their stadium. Get your own thing going on. Make it an atmosphere. That's where I'm at with this.
I really like this idea. What I'll say though, I do think like here comes the Irish and shipping out of Boston, like those still work. Those are good. I like that.
No,
I
for
like
sure.
That. I like that. Keep that. I will say that I do one thing too, because I'm not a big European soccer fan. I can't wake up in the morning that early, whatever. I too much. I already got too much stuff to do.
Gotcha.
And really too, like it really came down to when I tried to do it one time. It was like my wife was like, "Well, so you're gonna watch soccer at this time, and then you're gonna watch 3 college football games, right back to back after."
That's tough.
Nah, we can't do that. We can't allow that. So so that was the end of my trying to adopt an EPL team. I think that I do love all of that element of soccer, and I do think like if they were to do something like, okay, first of all, I'm fine with getting rid of Crazy Train. They don't need Crazy Train.
No.
Like, don't need it. I don't mind them having some kind of like get hype third down thing, but maybe switch it up.
It's like every time. It's like insane actually when you go to a game. Like, geez, we're doing this again. My goodness.
Yeah. But here's a perfect time to do a chant: is you get a big stop on third or fourth down, and that is when whatever chant you start. That is when the chant ignites. Like, would love that. Would love that. Also, too, like student section. I know whatever, these people got enough to worry about. They're trying to get their Notre Dame degree. It's not if they got to go to class. They're not they're not going to Arizona State here. They're not trying to just party it up for their whole time in college. But student section, pick some of these popular guys on the team, create a chant off their name. Just steal he's here, he's there, everywhere. Roy Kent, whatever from whatever. Pick somebody, do something, create something like that. I want to see that, and I'm not talking about just Notre Dame. Like, do this all over the country, student sections.
Yes,
this would be something that I think should catch on and would be like really, really cool if they did it. And there's so much of like kind of like North American sports experience that is so based on the DJ. Like the DJ's gotta really hit it here, right? It's like so there's goal songs in hockey. There's like boom, boom, defense, whatever. Like whatever. There's all this kind of stuff all around, and just really like less reliance on the DJ. Enter Sandman for when Miron Rivera comes in. Let's get some more original stuff from the actual fans. Put in a little bit of extra work. I
think it, like, the first school that does it, if anyone ever does, is like, it will be revolutionary. Truly, everyone will start doing it.
Yeah.
And so I implore Notre Dame to be first. Be first, Notre Dame students. Listen, it's not, what else do you do in college to come up with chants? I mean, what else is there, right? Like you said, they have their studies and they have all those things, and that's important, right? You can come up with this. This is what college is for, to come up with these things. Some class needs to do it. I implore you, please, go that route. All right, Jamie, your next hot take. Lacrosse related today. Jamie's going lacrosse all across the board due to the Notre Dame national championship. And this is a good one. I like this. Not necessarily because I agree and I wouldn't have thought of it, but because it's always someone. Okay, Bodie Cahoon will be the June enrollee who gets the most buzz. Tell us why, Jamie.
Well, one, I think for everyone who doesn't know and how this is lacrosse related, he, was a very high level lacrosse player. I believe he was committed to Ohio State at one point for lacrosse. Go check out, you can check out some of his highlights on YouTube. He looks pretty darn good. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, Notre Dame's lacrosse staff was kind of like, hey, maybe, give this a shot in the spring. Like he's definitely wouldn't be out of place there. He's a really, really good athlete. And I think he's someone that I think has development to do, whether it's as an off the ball linebacker or maybe grow into an edge. Certainly I think that is with the realm of possibility. But he's someone I think who's going to pop as an athlete, that people are going to be like, wow, this guy's like just way more of a better athlete than his ranking would have suggested, because the guy had like 1 million tackles in his senior season. I think he broke your school record for tackles at his high school. He's got like a 35-inch vertical. The guy's he is a big time explosive athlete. And I just think those guys, they tend to just really like stand out because you're like, this guy, if physically you can compete and athletically you can compete right away, it's like, well, the rest of the pieces are going to come, right? The rest of the pieces are going to come. And I do think that there's like, I'm saying this with thinking about how, someone like Gerby Lambert, Gerby Lambert could be in the 2 deep, right? That could definitely happen, right? But I think more people are going to be thinking about, Bronte Johnson, maybe like Leonard Moore or Carson Hobbs at corner or whatever. But I don't know. I just weirdly, it's almost just a hunch or whatever, just a feeling that I have. And I was thinking this before the lacrosse stuff. So it just kind of works out that it was related, that he's going to be a guy that people are going to be like, oh, this guy I think is going to be better than he not on the top of the radar for a guy who's going to be like a stud, but I think he will kind of put himself on the radar, this summer.
And it's kind of, I don't want to say easy to do, but he's a good candidate because he would have a skill that is very, very useful, and that would be able to get after the passer, right? If they were to put him at Viper or something like that, just are able to just get after the quarterback and be able to rush the passer, and that's always going to pop, right? Like Boubacar Traore, like last fall, I remember you were saying, like, man, he really has something. Like, he has good bend. He can get after the quarterback. And that will always stand out to people. And just to be kind of an athlete like that, like kind of similar to Drew Tranquil when he came in, like everyone kind of knew he was a good athlete, but then it was like in 2014, it was like, man, he has something here. Like they can really use him in a number of ways. Right. And then they started to do that. He got very early playing time in sub packages there, because it was just like he has an ability they rushed the passer with him a little bit, and they used him at safety. Well, obviously, they're not going to use Bodie Kuhn at safety, but because he was such a good athlete, they found a role for him on the team. And there's always one. There is always a mid-year enrollee who just kind of pops. Obviously, I think everyone's looking for Gerby Lambert. Everyone's looking for Bronte Johnson, where it's like, he was the higher rated guys, they're always going to want the higher rated guys, but Bodie Kuhn is a good example of someone.
Just to clarify too, I don't think he's going to play this year. I'm just talking about as a guy that showcases himself for the future, and being like, this guy's going to be something.
But like Boubacar, where it was, he had a nice sack of Caleb Williams against USC, but other than that, it wasn't like he had some booming season. Yeah. But it was, like it was that Notre Dame hit on this player, and it's going to be a big deal for the football team. My last one is coming up, but before I get to that, I want to talk to you about Bend Marketing, which is ready. They design websites out of South Bend, Indiana. So this is a local shop. If you're ready for a new website but not sure where to start, let the experts at Bend Marketing help. With experience in working with Fortune 500 companies and small businesses alike, they'll build you a stunning website and take care of all the marketing tasks so you can focus on running your business. No more stress. Just leave it to the experts at Bend Marketing. Visit bendyourmarketing.com/ISD to get started. When you ISD, you're going to enjoy 10% off of your first project. So give them a call or an email, visit their website, set things up, and they'll set up your website, right? There's nothing worse than having to deal with website stuff when you're trying to run a business. So you're going to want to visit bendyourmarketing.com. All right. My last hot take. I don't know how hot this is, because I think most people will agree, but I would like them to bring grass back to Notre Dame Stadium. I was one of the people at the time that felt like they needed to get rid of the grass, and they needed to go to field turf, because it was just a disaster. In 2013, 2012, at the end of those years, the grass was not good. It was unbecoming of a major university, like clumps, the divots that would come up. The grass was not tight. It just didn't look. It just wasn't befitting of a major college university. And I said, you can't do this. You got to get the field turf in. Notre Dame put the field turf in. And I think since then, every time I visit campus, I go on, I go to cover a game. I always walk around the campus and I look at the sports fields, and I look at the soccer field that Notre Dame has, and that is grass. It is immaculate. I mean, this is November too. So it's not like it's August, right? Notre Dame always had good grass at the start of the football season, but by the end of the football season, it was a mess. You go over to look at the soccer fields. The fields are immaculate. They're tightly mown. There's no clumps. There's none of that stuff, right? Let's go play on that. Notre Dame plays a ton of games on that soccer field, right? They use it a lot more than they would for the football team, right? That is only on it 6 times a year, right? And plus some practices. Well, and that would be the reason not, because they don't want to ruin the grass for the practices. So I kind of get that part of it. Their practice fields, they have grass practice fields. Like those are obviously very nice as well. We know there is research has come out. Like it's not the best for injury prevention, right? There's a lot more ACLs. It's harder on the joints, right? These guys are big, strong, and powerful with their cuts. And this grass, the artificial turf just doesn't give way. You get the rubber pellets on there. Suddenly you're springing off the ground. Like it's just not a great thing, right? The NFL players are more and more, they're starting to speak out against playing on field turf. I just think there's obviously benefits. Notre Dame has concerts there. They have graduation there. They use it for a lot more things now than just the football team. But I think it's worth it if it's a health risk and you can put out a better product now than you had before. And I think they can. I think you make the move. It makes more sense. And plus, everyone likes the grass better. That's just true. Everyone likes grass. Your take, Jamie.
I just always think that if we're talking about, what's best for the players and what's best for what, health wise and all that too, it's just a no brainer that grass is better. And there is something different about playing on grass, like just in terms of just like seeing teams play on grass too, right? And I would say, I mean, the reason they went away from it, and Michael Hahn brought it up in his comment about the USF game and the clumps of grass that were coming up, and like there's so many games where the grass was just in poor shape at Notre Dame, and whatever. I don't want to shade whoever was in charge of it, but whoever was in charge wasn't doing a good job, or how much money they were putting into it. They weren't doing enough to manage it and do a good enough job with it. And that's the primary reason they went away from it. And I totally understand why, like, Brian Kelly was like, enough's enough. Like, because they had enough problems with it that it was like, this is a joke, right? But I just think that there's no reason why you can't do, that Notre Dame can't spend enough to do a better job with it. And I would love to see it. I understand why it'll never happen, but I just kind of think that, it would be, I think it'd be one of the things that if they ever did announce it, it'd be like one of the most welcome things that happened.
Yes.
Like, and I think there's a lot of changes that have been made to Notre Dame Stadium that have been like good, like Jumbotron, good. Like there was no reason to not have a Jumbotron there before, out of just like basically like being like, well, tradition. It's like, no, you can have a Jumbotron. It's fine. It helps. It helps the experience of the fans to be able to see a replay, like after like a big play. But field turf, grass, like I just would love to see grass come back.
Yeah. It's just like the Jumbotron and everything else, like that's not performance. Like this is performance related, right? Like, and I think that's why they had to go with field turf, because like you said before, the performance was terrible. You couldn't perform. You couldn't count on the field in that situation. And I think now they're just in a better place, with being able to take care of, the field and everything else. Pat O'Doherty says weather won't let it happen. See, I kind of reject, because the soccer field is in the same place, and they have their field is fine, right? They have a very good field. The Warren Golf Course is a very good golf course. They have, I think, like Champions Tour events at Warren Golf Course. Like that is a high level golf course that Notre Dame has on their campus or very near their campus. And like, obviously that's, like the grass has to be very good for that too. I just don't buy that you can't have a good grass field, especially when they don't play in February and January. when it's really bad, when it's really, really bad, right? Like the snow game that took place against Boston College. The last time it snowed, it was like 1992. Like this is not a thing that happens very often, right? The only thing I could like think of is like maybe it might be difficult for the spring game, I guess, but I just think you got to find a way to make it happen if you want. Now, my thing is like I don't think they have the desire or the real need to make it happen that way. I think they're happy with the way it is. It's something they don't have to think about, right? It's not something that they have to. It's not on their plate, right? And like anytime you can take something off of your plate, you're gonna do it. They don't have to worry about the field. So I just think if they wanted to, they could. I just don't think they really want to, which is unfortunate because I just think now you can, like when the soccer teams come, right? When speaking of Liverpool and all those schools, all those teams, when Liverpool comes, guess what? They put grass on the field.
Yeah.
Those soccer players will not play on field turf. They bring in grass and they play on grass. Like they will not play like they always do. So I just think if you're gonna do that for these pro players, why don't you just do it for your own team? That's my thing. It's not something that like really drives me insane, kind of like the Nike stuff, but I don't like it. It doesn't. I think it's something they could do. So, all right, Jamie. I think that'll do it for today. That was a fun show. I had a good time, and we hope you did too. And if you like what you heard, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is we are going live. We'll be back on Thursday for another Hit and Hustle show talking about Notre Dame football. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.